Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Resting Stitch Face podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Erin Sheffield with
Dr. Sarah Harding.
Welcome back.
Welcome
we are
back,
here
everyone.
with an amazing guest, Lorie Streeter. Sarah, do you want to introduce her for us today?
I'd love to. Lorie Streeter is a dental industry executive, speaker, certified therapeutic coach, and unapologetic truth teller who's spent nearly 20 years helping teams build healthier practices, stronger leadership, and less dysfunctional workplace culture. Formerly the VP of AAODM and now leading U.S. expansion for MaxAssist, she's known for mixing real-world business insight with brutally honest conversations about identity, burnout, relationships, confidence, and what happens when the career you built suddenly disappears. Off the clock, she's obsessed with vintage Volkswagens. That makes me so excited. Storytelling, personal growth, and turning hard life lessons into conversations people actually want to have. And that's why you're here. So welcome, Lorie. We're excited to have you.
Welcome.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here. I've been watching the two of you and just love the name of the podcast. And I'm like, I need to talk right now.
Thank you.
Yes, love it. Well, we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
Can I ask first, what is a therapeutic coach?
Oh, I love that question. So tons of people ask that. So many years ago, and I'm just going to correct the acronym. It's AADOM. There's so many.
Oh, sorry. What did I say? ODM?
It's something like that. But I was like, maybe I worked someplace that I've never worked before. So you never know.
You never know.
ADOM was a 17-year part of my career. And my boss that I worked for, Heather Colicchio, she was the president of AADOM. She always believed in a side hustle. So for myself, I wanted to, just improve myself. So I wanted to go to coaching school. It's like taking any class for your better and your development, CE, all the things. So I found a class in Minnesota, and it was very specialized. It was called the Meta Institute. It no longer exists, which is interesting. I went for almost 5 years and I became a certified therapeutic coach. So think of it, life coaches really talk in the future, right?
Uh-huh.
Therapeutic coaches go back, grab what's holding you back, and then start to move forward, which is kind of combines coaching and therapy. So I think that's an easy explanation.
That's so interesting.
That makes sense.
It's really fun because you're helping someone to wrap their own package without telling somebody, well, you have trauma, you have this, you have that. You're kind of leading them to find their own nuggets so that you can move them forward without all that weight.
Okay.
Wow. So how did you harness that in the work that you do?
Well, that's a really good
First,
question.
can we tell everybody what AADOM stands for?
Of course. It is the American Association of Dental Office Management.
Okay.
You know, my background was I was a dental office manager for 12 years. So I worked with doctors like you, respect the industry so much, and then landed an amazing opportunity where I helped grow an association for dental office managers from 1,200 office managers when I started to 10,000.
Oh, my goodness.
When I ended my career there. And it was amazing. So in that role, it was super important to use all the time because I find that people working in a dental office need more coaching and more therapy than just about anybody on the planet.
That's true.
Yes, because every patient doesn't want to see you, right? Everybody comes to. How many people actually say, I am so flippin' excited to go to the dentist?
I've had 5,
Not
I
very.
think, in my whole career.
I
I count
I had
them.
someone say yesterday that their appointment was a true delight, and I was like,
How long do you think it's going to take for that to wear off? Probably until the next patient that tells you how terrible you are, right?
No, yeah, 100%.
I love that. And I
Right.
think, so true. And no offense, I think that's why you guys have a high suicide rate. And I know nobody talks about these things. But for me, using that coaching background really served me when it came to working with office managers who had burnout. I worked with a ton of companies. You wouldn't believe how many company representatives have burnout. You think we have burnout in the office? They have it too.
Right.
So yeah, I think it served me well throughout my whole life. I raised a son. I have a husband. I'm not crazy. So, well, I don't know.
Well,
Maybe
we're all a little
I don't know.
crazy,
Depends
aren't
on
we?
Yeah, exactly. So I hope that answers your question. But yeah, use it a lot.
Yeah, super cool. And so tell us a little bit about MaxAssist. Can you tell us how you got into that? How did you transition?
It's a crazy story. So after I left ADOM, so I'd been there 17 and a half years, I was basically like, what in the world am I going to do? How many people have ever had the opportunity in their career to really start over? I'm like, clean slate. What do I want to do? So being in dentistry, I didn't want to leave that. I love dentistry. I think it's one of the best verticals ever because we all genuinely love and care about each other. And, given my background, I had some DSO experience. I worked for Smile Brands for 5 years. I worked for Patterson. I had choices,
Wow.
but I didn't want to just jump. So I waited a little bit and I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, Jeff Barsotti, who is the CEO of MaxAssist. And we just literally were talking just like the three of us. And that conversation went from, what are you doing to what if? And that's what was so crazy because at the end of the day, by the end of that conversation, I was like, okay, tell me a little bit more about your elephants because you have an elephant for a logo. And my husband and I have Etsy stores and we sell antiques on the side. I know that sounds
This is
super
so
weird and not
exciting to me.
congruent with the rest,
I
but
love it.
we have Etsy stores. So I'm shopping because I'm not working and I'm finding elephants everywhere.
That's my
Like
favorite animal,
everywhere.
Lorie.
Oh my gosh. Well, trunk up for sure. I have an elephant lamp. I have elephant this, elephant that. They just were everywhere. So I finally wrote him back and I'm like, all right, I give. Like I'm coming to work for you. So I've been there a year now and never thought I would be, an influencer of any kind, but MaxAssist is an amazing company. We have 71 employees. It was based out of Calgary. They made a concerted effort to be in the US a couple years ago. It's a productivity tool for front office people that to me is the best in the industry. I can tell you that working with a company that loves you, cares about you, supports you, all the things makes a huge difference. So I feel like I landed right where I'm supposed to be. And it's given me the flexibility to do crazy things like this, like message you on Facebook and go, hey, I want to talk to you. Can we spend some time together?
Yeah, that's great. And so can you give us, so not to commercialize any of it, but can you give us a little bit of an insight into what sorts of tools have you found that are really exceptionally helpful for the front desk and cohesiveness and productivity?
It's such a great question. I think one of the biggest challenges, and I was a little nervous about this at first, is that it's very difficult as a dentist, and correct me if I'm wrong, to understand what the team is actually doing. So they know what they're supposed to be doing, but it's very difficult to actually track that. And I think one of the first things that drew me to MaxAssist. So keep in mind, I hadn't been in a dental practice since like the early 90s, like when my son was born. That's how long it had been. And I'm like, well, if I haven't worked in a dental practice, how am I going to evaluate your tool to see if it's okay?
And how do
So
you
I
have the
brought on the
confidence to just step right back into that, right? Because you're like, well, why me? I'm certainly not the one for the job. There's certainly been somebody that's clinical more recently than I have. And you get that imposter syndrome, right?
Oh,
Right.
absolutely. And so I did the next best thing is I tapped a couple of my really good friends, Teresa Duncan, Savannah Carlson, and they had been in offices recently and are, inside coaches and consultants. And so I said, come look at this. I need to understand if this is something like I think it's really good, but it's been a long time. So I had them look at it and they were messaging me saying, I wish I worked in a dental office again because if I would have had this, yada, yada, yada.
Wow.
So
Oh, that's
I
nice.
think the tools that make the most sense to me are the ones that actually track behavior without checking on your team, but checking in with them. And I think
Hmm.
that's been really eye opening for me to know that most products in the front are not built with that kind of tracking mechanism. So it'd be really good if you're a clinician and you're able to say, this is literally what my team is up to, and here's what they're doing to march their way to my goal, the same goal that I have.
Oh, that's
Okay.
great.
Because I've been
That
in offices where, the doc is kind of tucked back in the office and something doesn't get done and they come out and they blast everybody because they think that they're not doing anything up at the
Yeah.
front, but they have been working their butts off getting other stuff
Yeah.
done, and so the
Yeah.
communication piece is really lacking.
Yeah. No, and I just had a conversation with someone about, when a doctor gives accountability to, let's say, an office manager, front office team, it's really important that once they do that, they step back and say, look, this is what I want you to be responsible for, and this is how I want you to be accountable. As long as the communication is clear, it makes everything a lot easier on everybody. So I have worked with and worked in practices where that wasn't the case, and there's nothing worse. I train on the anatomy of the gatekeeper, so companies will watch a training that I do, like how to get past the office manager, because everybody wants to get to you guys, right? Everybody wants to get to the doctor. You sign the check, you say the things, but the truth of the matter is, as an office manager, I researched everything. I did all the groundwork and just told my doctor, here's what I want and here's why I want it. If I did my job correctly, they're just going to agree with me.
Yeah.
So it's so in coaching and doing that, I've identified personas of different types of office people, like numbers people, and then I have one called the pirate because they're still using a pegboard. And it's so interesting to me that we have plethora of different personalities up front, and no one ever really focuses on that. And I think that too, Erin, is where the coaching comes in. It's like you really got to identify who you're working with, because let's face it, our office is like a family, and the family dynamic always shows up. So to me, fascinating. Like, I call it brain candy. So I absolutely love thinking about those things, because these people are all put together for a reason, and how are they going to operate moving forward? So tools, trust, timing, all the good things.
Very cool.
So, what's one of the biggest mistakes do you think dentists, practice owners, or maybe not even owners, just in that leadership role, are making with their teams? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Some aren't, but I think there's a lot of fear around, and it's a very real thing about dentists and people taking advantage of. You're either a very hands-on business person or you're very hands-off. There's no middle ground, right? So, we're like, oh my gosh, they're going to steal from me. I can't give them access to that. And really, in fact, the lens that I looked at dental office managers through for the last 17 plus years, these were like CEO level office managers. And those type of office managers that behaved as if the practice was their own really made a difference to the practice. So if you find somebody that you can trust and you have systems in place so that you have checkpoints and you don't have that scenario where someone could steal from you, having a great office manager up front makes all the difference. So mistakes, calling people receptionists and front desk and not empowering people to actually do their job in a great way, I think that's the worst mistake most dentists make.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
interesting. I have a family member who just got hired to work for a big dental group as their CFO. So they're big enough that they want a CFO position person, but it's funny because they're not willing to give him any of the financial information. And he's like, "How am
Wow.
I supposed to help you if I can't see the finances?" Like, you're tiring their hands, like, there's so much that they can be offering, but yes, I think so many of us have that control freak part of
Right.
us, and we can't let it go.
We've always heard about how significant, how often embezzlement happens in our own offices in these
Sure.
small practices. And even I know for myself, I know at least 2 offices personally that it
Mhm.
happened in.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got some real, I got people that I would lean on for those types of things, and I think in this space, it's a real conversation that needs to happen. But I think the other mistake that dentists make, if I could add one more, if you don't mind,
Mhm.
is that everybody is talking about AI. Everybody wants to know how it's going to make their life better. They're going to get to answer my phones. I'm not going to need as many people. I was at an awards ceremony recently, and a dentist that had invented an AI product got up and basically was like, I'm coming for your jobs. The minute we lose the human connection in dentistry, we're sunk. I mean, I don't know how you feel, but can you imagine sitting somebody down in a chair and then just hitting a button and letting the, like, robot dentist come in? That's what's starting to happen in the front office, and look, I'm a proponent for after hours answering the phone, that type of thing. I think that's great. But we have to have the human connection. That's
Mhm.
where we shine. That's my patients. When I worked in practice for 12 years, I loved my patients. I still keep track of a lot of
Yeah.
them. And my dentist that I worked for is in his 80s now, and he still messages me on my birthday and those kind of things. So I just want to be really careful that we don't, as dentistry as an industry, does not lean so heavy into replacing people that we become just another automation. Because I don't know about you, but I still, if I go into Walmart, I am going to try to find the checker and not go through the scanner
Mhm.
unless I have like one item. I still want that person to have that job.
Yeah.
So,
I have 2
yeah,
thoughts
sorry,
on
rant
this.
over.
No, this is
Yeah.
good because I have 2 thoughts on this. The first is this is something that really drove me crazy in the military, was because patients would come for a consultation, and then they would just plug them into the schedule, into anybody's schedule, and I said, "No, that's my patient. I've already seen them for consultation. We've talked through what the surgery will be. We've developed a rapport, and that patient
Mhm.
needs to be on my schedule unless there's some, like, big reason why that can't happen." But
Yeah.
they were like, "Well, the patients don't care." And I said, "No, they do care. You've just told them that they're not allowed to care."
Yes.
Right? And then
Perfect.
and then you
Yes.
go to DSO, and it's the same sort of round robin thing where you just go and see whoever, and so we're being conditioned to not care who we see, and
Mhm.
we're getting used to that. And so in
Yeah.
that way, imagine now it's this robot that comes in and comes to you, and then think about where that goes when you talk to ChatGPT. Wow, that's a really great question. Or wow, that's very insightful. So if you're like, "Ow, that hurts." They're like, "I understand that you're having pain. Let's keep going. It should get better." Like, can you imagine just this
No.
awful response where you're like, "I just need
Mhm.
the human connection, and all you're doing is
Yeah.
trying to tell me that I'm right about my pain, but you're not gonna do anything about it."
Well,
Yeah.
even we have an office in our town that has taken their front office, like, offshore.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
They pretend like they're there in the office, even though they've got
Mhm.
some crazy accent that you can't understand,
Yep.
and I will be trying to call, "I've got your patient in the chair, the referral says number 4, they say number 5 looks like it's probably right, but I wanna double check," and, like, you can't for the life of you get through, and they keep pretending that they're right there, and they're not. And that's
Right.
still
I
with a
mean,
person.
Mhm.
there's a place for AI. For example, this amazing company that I went to work for, they do something called actionable intelligence. So instead of AI, so our software in particular goes in, looks at the PM system and says, here are all the people who are most likely to book. Now you're more efficient at the front.
Mhm.
Tool,
Yeah.
great. And I agree with you. ChatGPT, Claude, all the things. I did this fun exercise yesterday. If you haven't done it, it's so funny. It's basically like, chat, roast me. Like, give me the roast. It's so funny. My whole marketing team did it and it was hilarious. So if you haven't done it yet, try it because it's very insightful what ChatGPT actually thinks of you. It's great.
Oh,
I'm not quite there
interesting.
yet. I finally did my
Mine, I'm kind
astrological
of
birth chart.
I'm kinda mean to mine, so it will probably have some mean things to say.
You're not
I'm
mean
not
to chat, are
mean.
you?
No, I mean, my friends always say I'm just I will call it out because it needs to be called out,
We
like,
we
all the
recently
time.
moved and I had chat work on redesigning the outside of my house. And when it makes mistakes, puts a nose on the side of the face or does something weird, I basically say, "What are you thinking? What are you doing?" So yeah, I think
Yeah,
I'm a
that's
little
how I am
salty.
too.
I'm a little salty with mine too, so I totally get it. Totally get it.
So,
I'm working on
I
cultivating my garden and growing beautiful plants, and so inside my soul, and so I have to not have those reactions because it only brings me
Good luck
down,
with that.
isn't
right?
it
That's
therapeutic,
awesome.
though? I can say those passive aggressive things aggressively
Mhm.
to AI and not to real
No.
people. It's like letting it out.
I guess that's
That's
fair.
a very, very good point.
Yeah.
That's why you're a dentist and I'm just an influencer.
Hey, I'm a
That's
dentist trying to be an
awesome.
influencer, and I'm not doing
There
too
you
great at
go.
that.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
So your
Awesome.
bio I thought was really interesting how you said, where did it say that?
Okay, I can't even
Something
imagine what I said
about
about myself.
brutally honest conversations. What kind of brutally
Yeah.
honest conversations can we have with you? What are you talking about? This brutally
You can
honest.
I think a lot of times conversations with people become what other people think that like maybe what I think you want to hear.
Mhm.
I'd rather just tell you what I think is the truth.
Yeah.
And my experience is varied. I mean, I've been in dentistry a really long time. Um, Brutally honest things that maybe patients think or that dentists maybe think. I worked for a practice in Minnesota many years ago where I've talked about this a little bit before that if you're going to take away all the authority from someone in your practice, you might as well just run the whole thing by yourself. I mean, you're just a micromanager trying to micromanage a 2 by 2 square and then taking that vision out to your entire practice. So I think those are the brutally honest things I like to talk about. Ask my husband and my son. They probably don't like that I'm honest in that way, but I've learned over the years that placating and, you know, not letting out my salty side is not always the best thing to do. You have to give a little bit of who you are or people will take advantage.
It's
How do you
true.
So,
find people respond to you? I made a video on this topic just this week where I was talking about I think people who are willing to give you real truthful feedback are actually giving you a gift, and a lot of times we take offense to it or we're affronted or we get defensive and so we can't hear it. But my thought process was if you get 5 stars every time, if you get 100% on every test, if you get excellent on every review, there's nowhere to go from that.
finally, if you gave it to Erin, I'm the guest.
I'm the guest. We're trying out this new feature, which is really fun. Lori, if you say something really great, you still have the opportunity to get that. But my
Okay,
thought, instead
I'm
of
ready.
being upset, I had this thought because my sister was talking about having to give a peer review to another employee, and she was so nervous about it and how it was going to be received that she'd been like ruminating over it for months. And I thought,
Yeah.
well, the person's expecting to get excellent, 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 above average on everything. But if you do, then there's nowhere to go from there. And if you're truly someone with a growth mindset, then it's actually a gift for your employer to say, like, hey, you're doing great here, but you could work on this spot. And I think, just take things so personally and get defensive instead of seeing it that way. And we don't usually see it as an opportunity for thanks and
Well,
gratitude.
if I could comment on that, I think that a lot of times when people are honest and they hurt someone's feelings, they feel guilty. And the one primary thing they taught us in coaching school is that the energy of guilt seeks punishment.
Mm.
And I think it's super important to remember that if you're the person doing the review, if you're the person, when I do reviews for my team, I'm always about the threes and the fours because I do want people to have room to grow, but I give very clear coaching steps to get to that next level because you can't just tell somebody they're a 3 and then not give them the way to get to the 4. So as
Yes.
long as you give the roadmap, right, to get to the 4, you're good.
I love
So
that.
I think that's the type of when you say courageous conversations, I think of Catherine Eitel, who's one of my sheroes. She's an amazing dental leader. And I think there are conversations that you can have. There's a difference between being honest, courageous, and kind at the same time. I'll never forget when I was working in a dental practice, my best friend was our hygienist, and she said something to me that really stuck with me. And I know it's kind of old school, but I'm going to share anyway. She said, if you just talk to yourself like your best friend, so like the advice that you give to me should be the same that you would give to yourself. And most of us can you can see clearly someone else's problem, right? Because You're 5 steps removed from it. You're looking out there and you're saying, "Oh my gosh, that's what you're doing. You turned right instead of left." The person that's actually walking thinks their road is like there's like 5 of them and they can't see the difference. So, if we can talk to ourselves in the way that we would give advice to others, that helps with the honesty. The other thing that I think is so important is most people run on fear. So I love that sentence that says, "What does fear stand for? Face everything and rise, false evidence appearing real, blah, blah, blah." A lot of Louise Hay stuff. I think those are all true. I always say I did this Instagram post. It was basically fear is for fools and lion tamers. So lion tamers need to be afraid, right? They have to have a
Yeah.
healthy fear. But I think when we're having honest conversations, we're so afraid we're going to hurt someone's feelings. We're so afraid we're going to say the wrong thing, especially people who have you ever heard of the Clifton strengths? It's big in dental entrepreneur woman. So
Erin wants me to do it. I haven't done it yet.
Unfortunately, I have got empathy in my top 5.
Oh,
That is the
no.
worst. But my first is strategy.
My first is
So
empathy. It's the worst.
no, you can't be number 1.
I mean, I haven't taken it yet, but holy moly. It is insane, girl.
I am so sorry.
Thank you.
So sorry.
Thank you. Imagine cutting people open and that being your number 1 strength.
Oh my gosh. Well, no, I think that would be really good as a dentist, as a oral surgeon. I really do think that being empathic and empathetic is really good.
Not as number 1.
I would agree with that. The other thing you don't want is woo. Woo's in there too, and all the woo people. Yeah.
Wait, like
Is
woo
that
girls
you?
like woo.
No. Woo, like woohoo.
I am 100%
No.
woo. Yeah, I'm definitely woo.
Wow.
Like, I don't even know what that means.
This
It
is
just
why we
sounds like
thrive
what
in
it
this
means.
realm.
It's the filter in which we have those honest conversations, right? So, if you're still filter through empathy, it's gonna sound totally like you're not gonna be there to support you. Like all you care about is how they feel. Like what do they feel like? So, yeah, that's a challenge. I don't
We're a
take it,
pair.
Sarah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to bump both of yours up to see how they line up.
Yes.
So that's awesome. Are you both dental entrepreneur women?
I
Erin
am.
is.
I'm trying to lure Sarah over.
Oh,
I'm
'cause
just a
it's
broke ass
such an
dentist
amazing.
that's trying to figure out my way.
Maybe if you had more entrepreneurial women to guide you, you would be less
See?
broke.
Or maybe if these avocados were made of gold.
Whew.
maybe you just need a community.
You're right.
That's all there is to it.
Yeah,
right.
But yeah, I think that's
definitely.
where honest conversations have to happen.
Well,
Mhm.
that's tricky. I just made a story about this today on Instagram. I'm part of this coaching group, and so someone was posting, "What do you guys think about my Instagram posts? I'm not getting very much engagement. I'd like to do better." And so I'm always like, "Someone wants my help. Here I am." So I went
That's
through some of her
awesome.
old stuff and I was looking at it and I left quite a few comments and then I'm thinking, "What did I just do? Why did I do that?" Like maybe she didn't really want me to say that. She just wanted me to say good job. Like maybe I didn't hear anything. It was like silence. And then I was like really getting in my head and like,
She asked for
or maybe
feedback.
everyone else is wondering like, well, who is Erin to think that she's the one to give expert advice like she knows? And I just started like spiraling, and that's how well my honest feedback is usually received, I guess. That I was like going in trauma pattern after, like, oh no, and I was like, I delivered it with love. It's okay. She asked for it, but it's hard sometimes. And then I contrast that with my 10-year-old daughter, who will just say it how it is. She'll just say something. I'm trying to think of an example. It'd be like, Hugh, you're a stinky butt or something. And you'll be like, do you have to say that, Greta? Like, look, that hurt his feelings. And she'll be like, but it's true. And
That's
be
how
like,
every
"Well."
conversation in my home is. Every
The
single
stinky
one.
butt part.
Mhm.
I'm sure.
Small
2 little
children.
boys.
Well,
Yeah.
it's been a long time since my son was little. I shared with both of you, my son is getting married. And there's nothing that brings out the honesty in you like having a future daughter-in-law.
Oh
So trust
no.
me, I back to your comment about No, she's wonderful, but I got lucky. But your comment about, leaving feedback for somebody or somebody asking for feedback, you know, sometimes people don't wanna hear it, but if they ask, it's not your responsibility how they take it.
Mhm.
Sure.
True.
So, and I think 10-year-olds probably do give better feedback than most grown-ups, honestly. Because at the end of the day, let me ask you both a question. You're in a dental practice, and let's say someone doesn't like their experience for whatever reason, whether it be front, back, handoff, whatever. Are you offended or are you grateful? Like, sometimes when, I went from being more behind the scenes, I guess I would say, and building an association to now having, a TikTok channel, 400,000 views over the last year. Like, that's all really exciting. But my team has warned me, they're like, one of these days, someone is going to say something and it's going to really piss you off. Then what are you going to do? And I'm like, it hasn't happened yet, knock on wood, but I know somebody's going to be mean at some point, and I have to ask myself how I'm going to respond. I'm usually brutally honest. So what they're going to get is probably something salty. I'm just
I'm
saying.
here
I
for it.
mean,
Mhm.
yeah,
That's
I'm
my
and
here for
jam.
it.
you 2 will be the first 2 I reach out to when it happens
Perfect.
because I know it's coming.
Come at me on a
You have to
day that I
take it.
haven't had sorry, Erin, come at me on a day, that I haven't had a lot of sleep the night before, and you get all the snark. It's really good
Right?
too, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I
I
love
say you
that.
have to take it as a compliment.
Well, try to be in dentistry and hit menopause. Then your life is literally almost over. I mean, there is things that women in dentistry have to deal with that, sorry, others do not.
Mhm.
And
And you
I
lose
think
your
one of the
give a flip about it
Mhm.
factor, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and also when you're at your job for so many years like I was, then all of a sudden you're just like, now what, where do I go and what do I do? And there's no better time to be honest with yourself when you're trying to reinvent things and become the next version of whatever your chapter is that's coming up.
Mhm.
So that's why you reach out to people like you guys where you can just talk about it
Mhm.
loosely and people will actually listen.
Mhm. And so
So,
tell us a little bit more about reinventing yourself. I wanna hear about your journey. How did and true and deep, like the real stuff, you know what I mean? How did it make you feel, like,
Yeah.
on the day to day when you'd get up in the morning, you're like, "Sh now what?" I had
Yeah.
this whole plan, and now what?
I'm very type A and I like structure and I loved my job and I loved what I did and I never saw myself doing anything else. But I also realized on the day, and some of the things I can't talk about because
Mhm.
obviously there's legal reasons I can't, but I can tell you that it was really surreal. The week leading up to being let go, I don't know if you know what an aura migraine is or a
I
vascular
get those,
migraine.
yeah.
Yeah, I had 3 in
Ooh.
1 week, like, leading up to that.
And how often do you
It's
normally
like
get them?
once or twice a year.
Whoa.
So, my body knew before I did, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
The other thing that I realized is that I was getting bored. And I was complacent and it was easy what I was doing. And I don't mean if you looked at my job and what I was responsible for, it's not an easy job, but because I've been doing it for so long because I built it, it was easy. So once it happened, the day, which was really hard because my husband worked there too. So we lost, think about our entire income, our life,
oh,
everything like in one moment. And you
Wow.
kinda wake up the next day without a place to go, without, your normal routine, and you literally have to say, "Who the flip am I?"
Mhm.
So, that was the hardest part, and, in all honesty, Sarah, to your point, I didn't know right away, but here's what I did different than other people that happened to, because there was 4 of us it happened to on the same day, and that happens typically, like, in corporate, you'll hear that. That's
Mhm.
why I love dental offices because it's not like a corporate structure, right? Um, so when that happened, I did what other people didn't do. Other people were sad, they were mourning, they were grieving, they were crying, they were all the things. I went to work. I started networking. I started acting as if I was still working, but I wasn't. I was working on my Etsy store. I was calling people, talking to people, having conversations, and invariably I got a lot of calls like, would you do what you did over there again? Could you do that? I didn't want to do what I did
Right.
again, right? I wanted to do something different. So I was patient. I didn't feel the grief. I just kept working and kept acting like I got up at the same time. I got dressed. I like jewelry. I put on a little bit of jewelry. I kind of went and did my thing. But here's where it caught up to me. And I want
I was
everybody to
gonna
hear this
ask
loud
about
and
this
clear.
because we had this episode on grief, and you still have to grieve it, right?
Feel it.
Yes.
So about 6 months into my new job, I went from dental association world, office managers, all the things to working for a SaaS company. And a SaaS company that primarily started in Canada. So whole different world. I had never even been out of the country before I worked for this company. I had to use my passport for the first time. I had to get a passport. All these things were new. Don't even get me started about my first trip to Calgary. They lost my luggage. I'm meeting my new team. They stole all my jewelry. I mean, I could go on and on. Yeah, nobody wants to fly WestJet. Sorry.
Ooh.
But I know that if I had my own applause button, I'd be hitting it right about now. It was traumatic. They tease me about it now. Thank you. Thank you. I did get my luggage back, but not my jewelry. But anyway, so the
Hi.
divide between having to find who you are, like I really started feeling it, Sarah, about 6 months in. So every little thing that happened where I didn't feel confident, I mean, there are so many terms in a SaaS company that you have to know. It's like going from front office to now I'm an oral surgeon.
What is a
Totally.
SaaS company?
I was gonna say, like
It's a
SaaS.
software company.
Okay.
Yeah, software
Oh, okay,
company.
got it.
Yep,
Okay.
Perfect.
easy. That's what they call them,
That's
SaaS
the first
companies.
term you
So
need to learn.
Yes.
there you go. So, and I thought for SaaS, I was like, oh, that's me. That's my personality. So no, that's not what it was. So that's when I would be on Zoom calls, call after call after call. And then I would get off if I had 5 minutes and I would start sobbing. And it was hitting me all at once. So, and my son had gotten engaged. It's about September. So let go in March. By September, I was a mess. And I went through 2 or 3 where the other people that got let go, they had been through it already. They allowed themselves to do it at the beginning. Oh, not me. I waited. And then it came up at the most inappropriate time. So my advice there would be feel it as you go. Although I think my strategy worked, because remember, I lead with strategy. I think my strategy worked to get a new job, to get a new career, to find all that. I didn't feel the emotional aspect of the pain of what was there. So, a year later, I'm actually going to the conference of the company that I got let go from, which is very challenging. Last year, I showed up as a flat Lorie. So they made an 8-foot tall standee of me, and people were taking pictures with it, which warmed my heart.
I
And
love
I
that
think,
so much.
ironically, that was September. They
Wow.
asked this year, they're like, what are you going to do? And I found the wavy one where they do that, where they blow it. I'm like, I'm doing that blow up one this year. So yeah. So, it's been a journey. It's been a challenge. And, I look back now and say, okay, I'm on all these podcasts, I have these channels, and this is who I am. And I think it's who I always was. I'm putting it out there a little bit more. I mean, just like you two are doing, I'm sure. Just who are we? Let's just tell people
Right.
who we are.
Because once you get to
Yeah.
that complacent point in your career, you also lose because you're still doing it every day and you just don't have that time or brain capacity to have the creative come forward. And so when everything's shaken up, you're like, oh, there she is again, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So my new motto is I put the fire in fired. So yeah, that's you got to find your fire. I mean, and there's also drums. I love it. I love it.
These new
Somebody needs to
features are
take her
great.
drum
I
pad
think I
away
did the
from
wrong
her.
one. I think I was supposed to do this one.
Now that one's really good. That one's really good.
Yeah.
I won't tell any 2:30 dental jokes or what time we should go to the dentist, right?
Oh, my
Yeah,
kids
not
told me that
good.
like 3 times in one day. Every single one of them came up to me, and I was like, "Yep." And they're like, "How did you know?" How did I not know? And you told
Right.
me like 3 times already, but
Yeah.
they thought it was
Yes.
Yeah.
hilarious. That's what counts.
Yes.
But I love that,
Awesome.
putting the fire in fired, because at some point
Yeah.
you have to take a hold of the reins, right? Because
Mhm.
otherwise you're just letting that negativity
Mhm.
own you. Makes
Yeah,
no
and it's
sense.
also like saying that you know better than whatever you call it, God, the universe, whatever's guiding us all, right? That's like saying you know better than it does. And I don't believe that. I think if we looked back and I'll give you a real can I give a real quick example?
Yes.
So 2 weeks ago, I had a you know how you wake up and you don't feel like you're kinda in your body? You feel kinda like you feel like out of sorts. So I got up, I went to the gym. I try to go to the gym every Friday. So I have a trainer, nice kid. And I'm like, I just go because I feel like I can at least say, "Oh, I go to the gym, I go to my trainer," but he's more like a therapist, which is great. So I go
We
and
call it
he's telling me
therapeutic exercise. Yes.
exactly. And I'm had labs that day for, my yearly blood work, and I came home and I thought, I'm gonna take a PTO day just because I don't feel quite right. And I just felt off. And every once in a while we all get that way. So I highly recommend doing that when you need to. It's harder to do it in a dental office when you have patients scheduled and those kind of things, but I did make the decision. So I then decided because we moved to our house recently, that I was going to climb on a ladder and I was going to put up something in my kitchen that hadn't been put up yet. So I did that and I proceeded to fall off the ladder.
Oh, no.
I fell on my tailbone, hit my head, I blacked out, saw stars, the whole thing. So here's the lesson in all that is that my husband and asked him to redo this coffee table for me. And it was a rather large square coffee table, wood, very pretty. I'm going somewhere, I promise. So he didn't do it. And I was
I was gonna say,
madder
how many times
than,
did you ask? Did you put it on to-do
oh,
list? Was
so
it color
many.
coded?
I was pissed. I was so mad. And I just focused on the fact that he didn't get that done, even though we moved a whole household, right? I'm telling you right now, if he would have finished it and I would have hit my head on that coffee table and it's right where I literally landed, I have a smaller coffee table right now, I probably would have died. We probably would not be talking because
Ah.
I would have hit my head right on the so my point to this is we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what's next, what's coming up. We just have to be a participant in life, do the very, very best we can, support each other, and not question why something doesn't happen just the way we wanted it to. So I could go back, and I think the people that grieve incorrectly are the ones that say that shouldn't have happened. It
Mhm.
all is going to happen the way it's going to happen. And can either make two choices. We either operate from love or we operate from fear, period. There's nothing else. So there's my salty ladder story.
Oh,
Fell
That's
wow.
a
off.
really good point.
Thank you.
I'm over here
Thank you. It was
overanalyzing it in my brain right now. So
And
there
I
we
was
go.
like,
hard lesson to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
fear part is something that's really interesting to me. And I see that a lot in our business world, like social media comments and stuff. Dentists will always make comments about like treatment decisions they're making because they're afraid of this or that. And I'm always so surprised. The comments, and it's always something like this patient's mad and they're really a terrible patient and they're not happy with me and I can't help them and it's terrible and the trust is gone and so it would do both of us well to sever the relationship, but if I do, the patient might report me to the board. And I'm always like, who cares? Let them report you to the board. Like,
Yeah. If
what
you
are they
did the
going to
right
report you?
things.
What are they going to report you for? Like, li- but it's like, "Oh, no, they might leave a bad review," and I'm like, I just think that's such a weird way to operate your life, like, they might leave a bad review regardless of what you do, and they probably
That's
frankly
right.
will,
That's
and
right.
they might report you to the board for whatever, because it sounds like that's just kind of the person that they are,
Hmm.
and so we're tiptoeing around making decisions that are negatively affecting our lives and our practice all out of the, "But that might happen," instead of sometimes
Hmm.
doing the right thing,
Mhm.
or, if I don't give them the antibiotics, then they might get mad or I might get sued. And that's silly too, because I'm like, well, if all the clinical research shows that antibiotics aren't going to prevent a joint infection, then if you don't give it, are you going to get sued? Sure, you can, but is that going to stand? I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me, but you could get sued also for giving it and having a problem. But
Yeah.
we're more afraid of that.
Mhm.
It's not logical. I think when you're going from a fear base, you're not being logical.
Well,
And
no,
how
but
do
I
you
also think do you think part of that is that I think we operate a lot of times out of fear when we don't feel supported, right?
Mhm.
If you're feeling like you're gonna get reported to the board, if you feel like the board has your back and that they will, work through it in a way that is honest and transparent and that sort of thing, if you feel that, then you're like, well, that's okay because I know that the right thing will happen. But if you're operating out of fear because you are afraid to be reported to the board, because now that's going to make your whole existence harder. Now you have to always report that. Now this decision is in the hands of these people who have no idea what happened and aren't going to do the job to really find out what happened as opposed to just checking a box. I think so much of that fear is based in feeling unsupported by what should be your foundation, right?
Yeah. No, that's a that's a great point, and I think what's so interesting too is how many times have you been bullied by a patient who thinks they know what you should be doing, but you as the clinician know better, and I think it's a really fine line if my grandmother, she was a flippin' rock star. She had MS, but she kept going. She lived till she was 75, and she just used to say the simplest thing, "If you do good things, then good things happen." And I think people lose that premise. You, as clinicians, obviously have a standard that you have to meet, and protocols and reasoning and all the things that you go through school to learn. And a patient can still bully you into
Yeah,
trying to say that they know better,
it
right?
feels more like no good deed goes unpunished.
Mhm.
Then good things will come to you.
I'm with you. I'm with you, but it's helped me in my life remember that as long as it probably, if I had to reframe it, what would be, if I do the thing that I think is right. And that's where you might be wrong sometimes, right? You might fail, but that's, look at me getting upset. Well, I spent 2 weeks being mad at my husband for not having that coffee table. He probably saved my life, but I didn't know at the time.
Mhm.
So sometimes we base our opinions on what we know in the moment, and then other things unfold as we go. So we have to let things sort of unfold. And then there are just patients who are just creepy crabby,
Yep.
honestly,
Mhm.
all the time.
Here's a question for you. As an office manager for a long time and now working in the front desk area space, how do you find a good one? What questions do you ask of staff that you're interviewing? How do you find someone that is in alignment with you and your practice and your office that's going to give you the clues that they're going to be there to help you grow as long as you can nourish them there?
That is a great question, Sarah. So here's what I would say. If it were me and I was interviewing, let's say, for an office manager of my practice, I want to interview somebody who's asking me questions, right? If they have no experience, I would say just standard questions about my practice, about the people that work there, those kind of things. I don't want someone telling me about what they did, watching for someone to say, well, I worked over here for Dr. Smith, but he was a real problem and everybody knows it. Like, you don't want to hear about somebody's old garbage. I would be looking for, so I'm going to pretend I'm the dentist and someone's applying. I would be looking for, so tell me about the kind of dentistry that you love to do. Tell me about what makes your practice better than Dr. Jones's over here. I would be more interested in the questions that they asked instead of their, curated resume that they got on ChatGPT that they just showed me. I want to know, I would want to hire for a little bit of experience for sure, but there are a lot of people. I know there's quite a few DSO models will hire just like salespeople, because at the end of the day, a lot of us are selling treatment. So they want somebody to sell. So to find a good one, I would be looking for what questions they're asking me. That would inform me about what their eye is on. You know, are they a woo? I would probably give one of those tests, to be honest with you. I like those predictive index tests where they, you know, see how you all fit together. DISC is obviously a really good one. And looking for their interest. I know most dentists are probably just going to roll over when I say this, but it's like office managers should want to keep learning. They should want to join associations. They should want to take CE. When I was first in a dental practice, everybody would like close down the office and they'd go to the Fresno Convention Center and they'd go to take their CE classes. And there was nothing for me years ago. Now there is.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should be willing to learn, and a dentist should be willing to pay for their teams to go take that CE, because you want to show them that you're invested in their career as much as they're investing in you. And I love office managers that act like the practice is their own. That's a good sign to me, not a bad one. Now, I don't want somebody micromanaging me if I'm a dentist or, you know, someone in the clinical side. I want somebody up front that I know is strong and kind. I would give them patient interaction scenarios. I would say the patient walks in, this is what they say. The patient walks in, this is what they say about the dentist. I do this series on, I don't know if you've seen, there's a gal that does it. She's super fun, but I started doing dental office manager edition, which is, we don't care. The we don't care series. Like, we
Yes,
don't
I love
care that
that.
you're XYZ, right? And so I started We Do Not Care. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, that got like 8,000 views. It must be some, and it was like little things like, we don't care that you say that the doctor's your friend. This is the price of the treatment. We don't care that the doctor said, you know, so fun. And I think, you know, I want somebody who's jovial and happy and joyful. If somebody comes in like Eeyore, they're not hired,
Mm-hmm.
period. I can take a little Winnie the Pooh, but definitely not Eeyore. So you want somebody uplifting where when they come in, like the light bulbs kind of flicker in the room. And I think those are the kind of people we want running our practices with us, because they come alongside. And I wouldn't be afraid to say, I want somebody who I feel can be my right hand.
Yeah.
I need eyes where I don't have eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I got to focus on my patients. I want you focusing on the team and the numbers, and I want us to come together and make sure that the marriage of those two things is beautiful. Not always perfect, but beautiful.
I
I
love
think the
that.
front desk is some of the hardest position to fill because it's
It's hard.
generally like a entry level position, but in some ways it's the most important. That's like the access, the first impression of your
Yeah.
practice. It's when people are calling, and if you got a total
Mm-hmm.
dud or someone with a
Mm-hmm.
personality that's not the best, not the empath or the woo, that's really tricky. Like, for example, my own dentist at times, I remember we'd call and I feel like her front desk person would be so mean to me. And I'd be like, should I call her and tell her that she's this way? Because I would wanna know.
My
Again, do
answer
they
is
want real
always yes.
feedback, or no, you find out it's
Yeah.
her grandma or something, you know? But
Well,
Well, and a lot of times they know. They just don't
yeah,
want to deal with it,
mm-hmm.
right?
for sure.
So, yeah, I would be looking for bubbly, but not like overly sparkly. Like, I don't know if there's a
Mm.
balance there, but I want somebody with a
Well,
great
they have to
personality.
be
Mm-hmm.
willing to ask for the cash too, you know? Like, that's hard to find that
Right.
friendly
Absolutely.
person that will like, "Oh, no, payment is expected," and that's a tricky
Yeah,
combo sometimes.
Because I can't do that.
absolutely.
It's
Do
fine.
you re-
It's fine.
do you realize that we have covered like 675? I've never been on a podcast like this. It's the most fun I've ever had. 600 topics, I'm sure.
I'm
Like,
sure.
I can't even believe it. I when I go back to my MaxAssist team, they're gonna go, "What did you talk about today?" I'm like, I
Don't
don't
even know.
even know.
Right.
Everything,
Mm-hmm.
everything. I
Well,
mean,
good.
we've gone from grief to ownership to fear to fun to hiring. I mean,
We didn't even
did you
get
guys
to the
plan this?
Volkswagens yet.
Don't worry, it's coming. I've got 2
Oh,
questions for you. My first was
Okay.
the Volkswagens. Have you ever had
okay.
have you ever had the bus? The microbus?
My son has a 1990 Vanagon Karat. It's red. Her
Oh.
name is Alice Freedom. She has her own Instagram page.
Whoa.
Okay.
So my son does have one that him and my husband restored. I have a 62 Volkswagen Bug named Black Betty, and my husband has an orange and white one that looks like a creamsicle named Orange Pop.
Oh, I love
And
it. You don't
Love
That
it.
see them
started
very much
because
anymore.
oh, they're so
They're
fun, and
so fun.
in I'll have to send you pictures.
Yes, you will.
In '87, the year I God, did I say that? '87 is the year I graduated from high school. I entered my '62 Volkswagen in not the same one, this was one from a while ago. Um, I I entered it into my high school Autorama, and I won, and all the boys were so mad because all the boys had their vehicles, and I was the only girl that put mine in,
You go,
and
girl.
I won it.
I
Nice.
went with my
I won
dad
it.
when I was probably 14 or 15 to the town, kind of 2 towns away from where I grew up. And there was a guy that, and I don't know how I found out about it or anything, but he had this cherry red and white microbus that he had totally redone. And it had, I mean, I can remember the polish of the chrome on the little step for the back door, the little
Sure.
step up. I remember how shiny and beautiful it was. I have
Yeah.
no idea why we did not buy that freaking bus. I'm still mad about it 30 years later, And now I'm looking at the ID Buzz, and every time I see one, I'm like, I just love them so much. Ugh.
My parents had a brown and white one. I mean, that was like our car.
Right.
So, I mean, I was raised around them. So, yeah, I mean, we have a good time. I live near Lake Coeur d'Alene. I don't
Oh,
know if you've
cool.
ever
Yeah,
heard
my
of Coeur
sister's up in
d'Alene.
Boise.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. So, Coeur d'Alene has a thing called Coeur d'Alene every year, and I
Mm,
entered my little black VW, and I won Best Flames last year at Coeur d'Alene
nice.
because I have
Okay.
flames
Yeah.
on my
That's
Volkswagen.
cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
super fun.
Love it. All right, my last question for you, so that we're because this is how my brain works. Fireworks spaghetti. This is why you get 600 topics.
It's
Strategy.
okay.
That's your number one. So with this
Yeah.
stage of your life, you've had a lot of
Mhm.
change in the last year, and you've
Sure.
had a lot of experience, right? And so
Yep.
at this point, what is your strategy moving forward?
That's a great question. So, and one thing about being a part of Dental Entrepreneur Woman, which I highly recommend for anybody out there, I mean, I can't hardly say, hey, I helped build this community and now I don't believe in community. I mean, community is what saved me, honestly. It was Ann Duffy and all the people at Do were like right there for me when I wasn't doing as well as I am now for sure. But I can tell you that from a strategy standpoint, I had a fellow dental entrepreneur woman member say to me, "Why don't you rewrite your mission statement?" I got to thinking about it. I'm like, I really didn't have a personal one. And so I rewrote it, and it was very simple. She leaves people better than she found them.
I love that.
So there is nothing more on my agenda for the rest of my career, whether I'm here for the next 10 years or I'm someplace, it doesn't matter. Any place I go, anything that I'm doing, I want to leave something behind, kind of like a Hansel and Gretel nugget. Like, I want somebody to say, I heard Lorie Streeter say that and it changed things for me. And I don't know what that is right now, but
Mhm.
I want to be open and honest enough to say it so that somebody might grab it and go, oh, I needed to hear that. You know how you've been in situations before where you're listening to something. It's probably why you started your podcast. You have to listen and learn by people sharing their experiences and being honest so you can leave them better than you found them. So that's my new mission. That's how strategically I'm operating now. I went to work for this company. My job was, I'm VP of US expansion. That's a big
It's a
title,
big
right? I'm
title.
responsible for all of the United States
Yeah.
of us expanding. And so I went from that to leading the marketing team, and now I had no one, and now I have 5 people working for me. I mean, it's gone great, but I don't think I could have experienced it the way I did without the heartbreak first.
Mhm.
So a lot of times in life you have to lose before you win. And, I there's only 2 things. You're either winning or you're learning. There is really no losing. So,
I like that.
but no applause, no drum roll.
Sorry.
Come on. Like, I know. Like, come on, Sarah.
I love that.
Thank you.
You gotta ask for what you need sometimes.
See? You do,
Right?
especially when I'm over
You
here
have
like,
to be your own hero.
That's
You gotta
right.
be your own
That's
hero.
right. And there's so many more that we didn't even use. So we have lots to
Let's have
find
you
out
back.
still. Yeah.
Hey, I've been known to do a part 2 with people, so
We love a good
I
part
would not
2.
be I would not be opposed, but next time I'm gonna straighten my curtain, put my blur back on because I don't know how it left, but my office is not usually messy, and I'm, like, looking back going, "Oh my gosh, this is the realest I get."
I think
So,
I can add that in. You'll be all right.
there you go. There you
We're
go.
all about
Perfect.
authenticity here at the Resting Stitch Face
Of
podcast,
course.
so we
Yes,
like it.
Yeah.
ma'am.
We like it.
Love it.
Well, thank you so
Love it.
much for this. Erin, did you have any other questions?
No, I feel like, again, we hit our 601 topics, so it was great. We're so glad you could come on today.
Yes, thank you so much.
And thank you, and Erin, I love your background. I have a picture I keep very close to my heart when my son was young, because I sing. He did a little blonde mommy of me, and it had microphones, like, across, and it said "Mother of Rock" on it, and I'm like,
Oh,
I will never,
amazing.
never I might even make a T-shirt out of
I
that
feel like that's
because
a
I
personal
loved it
brand
that
right
much.
there.
I know.
Yeah, exactly, Mother of Rock.
She
Well,
really does
listen,
want a
thank you.
part 2, because how do we end on that? That's a
Right?
teaser right there.
Yep.
I know. Next time, let's talk about music and how it relates to dentistry.
Oh, yeah.
Sold.
Cool.
I love it.
'Cause I
Well,
can't feel my
listen, thank
face
you.
when I'm with you.
Oh,
That's
and
so
I love
good.
it, and I love
I
it.
wrote a whole office manager parody when I worked at ADOM, and I performed it on stage, and it was super
Oh,
fun. We don't work
amazing.
9 to 5, we work 5 to 9. I mean, you name it, we did it. It was
I
good.
love it.
So,
Love it.
yeah,
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you both. And if anybody wants to find me, you can find me at Lorie Streeter Maxed Out on Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn. I
Perfect.
appreciate you having me on.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you again for listening to another episode of the Resting Stitch Face podcast. If you liked this episode, like, share, and follow. And if you have any ideas for guests for us, let us know. We'll see you soon.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye.